2018 was a pretty damn good year, if I do say so myself. In my life, I had a lot of great things happen to me in this year, especially compared to 2017. I started working out more, I started eating better, and I got accepted into my dream university. Honestly, I had a lot of really good things happen to me this year, and I'm super happy that there was a lot of good music released this year. So much that I couldn't even make a top 50 list. I had to make a top 60 because there were so many songs. I just couldn't whittle it down to 50. I think the rule I'm gonna set here, just to add diversity to the list, is one song per artist. So without further ado, let us move on. And here is my top 60 songs of 2018. Number 60, Amine, Campfire. Kicking the list off is a very short track courtesy of Amine, who is standing very close to the mic for the chorus. I love the nonchalant rapping and the 808, which is about as grimy as a public bathroom. Number 59, Lil Wayne, Uproar. Lil Wayne may sound like he doesn't care due to his voice, and it's because he doesn't care. Rapping about being a cold-blooded criminal is about all I'd expect from Wheezy after about 5 years, but this beat, if this doesn't get you moving, as far as I'm concerned, nothing ever will. You're dead. Number 58, Gazelle Twin, Better in My Day. Bit of a tonal shift here. Gazelle Twin has created one of the most unlistenable yet haunting pieces of music I've ever heard. She appears to have vocoded her voice to a whole 8 notes in an octave, resulting in her singing sounding like a rake being dragged down the eardrums. It's a fantastic experiment using such discordant vocals to deliver a message to those with condescending views on today's youth and working class. The only reason I don't feel I can put it much higher is because it's really not an enjoyable listen, just an interesting one. The beat is still really catchy though. Number 57, Juice WRLD, Lucid Dreams. I hated this song at first because the lyrics are complete unadulterated cringe. Somehow I ended up forgiving it over time for being intensely catchy, both in terms of vocals and instrumentals. The Sting sample works wonders for the trap drums, and the chorus is practically unforgettable, being far too fun to not sing along to. Number 56, Sway Lee and Post Malone, Sunflower. I don't think I've ever enjoyed a commissioned track as much as this, and it frustrates me because it has no right to be as good as it is. Really, this does everything I like in a song. It's around 90 BPM, it's in B minor, and it's synth pop. Do this and I'll probably like your song no matter what, but hey, they can sing well and the track is catchy, so it counts. Number 55, Sir, Summer in November. Released early in the year, the smooth and sensual vibe carried by this track is exactly what every good modern R&B artist should be aiming for. Sir's falsettos glide over the smooth bass with ease. It's airy and spacey, slow and beautiful. Number 54, Rosalia MALAMENTE. See, I know this one's good because Pitchfork told me. I'm about as bad as it gets at dancing, and yet this song still makes me want to get up and sway in every direction. Taking pieces from flamenco music and fusing it together at the seams with pop elements results in an infectious hip-shaking rhythm. Number 53, Deadmau5 featuring Rob Swire Monophobia. Given that Rob was back doing vocals with Joel, I expected Ghosts and Stuff V2, and that's about exactly what I got. Blending his more recent musical stylings with the older Mouse House elements gives a relatively simple but layered and enjoyable experience from Deadmau5. Number 52, Drake, Nice for What? Hey, you might be a bad father, but at least you can put trap drums over a Lauryn Hill song and make it a hit, right? Salt aside, before this song was played to death by my mother over the Bluetooth speakers in our house, I really enjoyed the fun and catchy and bouncy rhythms. Anyway, I think I'll love it again once I get some space from it, so at least he made a hit, Drake. Number 51, Dominic Fike, She Wants My Money. I cannot wait to hear what this sounds like when it's done, if this is just the demo. I love the raw drumming, and I really want him to expand on the little rap he has here because he only spits about 4 bars, but they're lyrically superb. Everything about this song is just fun and adorable, and I want to hear more of it. Number 50, Grimes, We Appreciate Power. Listen, Grimes, you are weird. You are a weird little lady, and I think you're kind of funky. That being said, I like this song that you made. The abrasive drums and driving guitars make for an excellent backing to the unquestionably catchy vocals. I can't even read the title of this song without thinking of the chorus. Number 49, John Hopkins, Emerald Rush. Flume influence all over the place. This transcendental piece of progressive house bounces easier than a tennis ball on a trampoline. And although the Flume influence is pretty heavy, and I say that just because of the swing on the synths, it's a lot less chaotic than a Flume song normally is. Number 48, Lizzo, Boys. Oh what, it's actually possible to empower both sexes in one song? Crazy. Seriously, Lizzo is fiery with her voice, being about as raunchy as you legally can lyrically, all on top of one of the fattest basses I've heard all year. Number 47, Jack White, Over and Over. Alright, look, I still don't know if I'm sold on the strange, raw choir vocals. However, this riff is far too tasty to pass up on. Number 46, Snail Mail, Heatwave. Look, it's not my fault that bedroom girl industry plant core is so prominent in recent years that amid all the white noise, someone managed to do something interesting. And while there isn't exactly much in the way of innovation happening here, the musicianship gives a lot of flavor, and Lindsay just has an easily lovable voice. Number 45, Black Foxes, Breathe. Honestly, this song would be a pretty run-of-the-mill indie rock song if it weren't for the lead singer's passionate and trembling voice. The lyrics are straightforward and simple, and still the delivery makes them sound grand and important. Just when you think the song would be dragging on, and its second chorus, the band explodes with crash cymbals and strings consuming the mix, carrying the song out into this mess of distortion. Number 44, Aphex Twin, T69 Collapse. Richard D. James returned to form this year with his Collapse EP, the nearly titular track being my favorite of the Pentaptic. Serving as a psychedelic venture into the bizarre, little-known genre of footwork, this track is jam-packed with variations of analog leads and pads. Something that struck me is how death-gripsy that some moments are. I seriously wouldn't have been surprised if Andy was hovering over Richard, puppeteering him while making this track. Friggin' demon. Number 43, Getter, Purgatory. The last thing I was expecting from a Getter song was hard-hitting, lo-fi, industrial hip-hop. This track starts out with a collection of gentle and shiny yet enigmatic whines before metamorphosing into a fuzzy maelstrom of heavy basses, choppy synths, and shredding percussion. My only complaint is that the rest of the album wasn't nearly as outgoing as this song, but hey, I'll take what I can get. Number 42, Jid, Off D's with J. Cole. I heard 151 Rum before this single came out, and I thought that Jid was fast on that song, so you can imagine how much my center of mass was fluctuating in my car seat the first time I played this. I feel like I'm watching a ninja slice through an obstacle course, partially due to how gracefully Jid and Cole flow on time, and also partially due to the mildly ethnic sample. Hey, anytime you can make me enjoy J. Cole, you're doing something right. Number 41, Julia Holter, I Shall Love To. Building from nothing more than 4 chords and a hi-hat loop, branching out in various directions instrumentally as well as vocally, is an act that is not easy to pull off well, making Julia's first single off her latest album feel that much more rewarding. The sea of voices that the song crescendos to is so uplifting that I feel like I'm levitating in my seat every time I hear it. Lyrically, the track is a wholesome counter to the growing trend of self-deprecation in popular music, simply stating that if one is in love, they should share that feeling, never suppress it. Number 40, Janelle Monae, Make Me Feel. Another sassy, fun, and sexy song with fantastic production. Seriously, the clicks and snaps sound like borderline ASMR. Janelle just radiates confidence on this song. I don't really know what there is to say outside of how funky and fresh it is to experience this song. Janelle has a great voice and knows how to use it well, and the plucky guitars and vibrato synths are nice little touches. Number 39, KDA, Pop Stars. Weeb music. It is weeb music, but it's actually good. I'm pissed. Number 38, Vinnie Virgo, Crash My Whip. A friend of mine showed me this song a few months ago, and on first listen I said, "This is boring trash with about as much substance as a can of tomato soup." I could be paraphrasing, but it's besides the point anyway, because the song grew on me faster than the economy in Ghana? Ronnie J's loud and crunchy production floods the entire beat with distortion and bass, while Vinny's incontestably catchy rapping flows over the rapids with ease. In a weird way, it almost reminds me of a Lil Pump song, but with more passion, if that's even possible. Number 37, Travis Scott, Sicko Mode. I mean, it had to be here somewhere, right? Featuring a total of 4 distinct shifts in the instrumental, Sicko Mode serves as a showcase for every strength Travis Scott presents on Astroworld, all while maintaining a blurry psychedelic tone. Personally, I feel like the beat underneath Drake's verse in the third part of the song could have been a little more fleshed out and maybe not produced by one of the worst producers out there right now, but it's fine because the track overall works really well. Number 36, Kai Whiston, Lux. Abstract, weird, and most of all minimal, Kai Whiston uses a lack of fullness to emphasize each 808 slide and vocal chirp, which is something not often found in the still developing genre of deconstructed club. Squeaking basses and sharp percussions eventually give way to vibrant, swelling strings which miraculously contrast well with the hard-hitting synths. Number 35, Giraffes, Hug of Death. This song is so freaking sporadic that nearly the entire first movement sounds like a massive drum fill with improvised math guitar work over it. The complexity and variety of what the duo conjures up within just under 7 minutes feels like enough material to be its own EP. It feels like enough to make Lightning Bolt blush. I feel like they really knocked it out of the park with this one, and I love this song. Number 34, The Carters, 713. I gotta be honest with you, I did not care much for Apeshit. Beyonce and Jay-Z sound much more confident and comfortable on the rich pianos of 713. The majority of Everything Is Love passed by my ears, hardly grazing them, but this song managed to capture my attention with Jay-Z telling the story of how he came to know Beyonce, which is nice, but the main attraction is the beat, which sounds so expensive I would not have been surprised if it was produced on a solid gold MPC. Number 33, Tyler the Creator and A$AP Rocky, Potato Salad. Almost every individual bar from this song is memorable thanks to Tyler and Rocky's ridiculous wordplay, dynamic flows, and unique delivery. Their bromance is evident as they trade verses about their success and luxuries over an equally luxurious instrumental courtesy of none other than Mr. West. It could just be the slower than average delivery of their words that makes each lyric so sticky due to being easier to digest, but there's no denying that it's tasty. Number 32, Against All Logic, I Never Dream. Opening with one of the most original drum patterns I had the pleasure of hearing all year, Nicholas Jarre constructs a fantastically rich and layered house song with walls of vocal harmonies drifting over top of one another and dancing percussion skipping lightly for the entire 6 3/4 minute track. As someone who produces in their spare time, I have no clue how he made this cacophony of samples sound so pristine. If that wasn't enough, the song is just fun and groovy as hell, so go listen to it. Number 31, Marissa Anderson, Angel's Rest. There is really not much to say about this little piece. It's short, it's sweet, and it's stunningly raw and beautiful. On the surface, it just sounds like Marissa playing around with her guitar for 3 minutes, and really that's what it is, but the results are transcendent and psychedelic, a longing gaze out off the edge of a cliff. Number 30, Igloo Ghost, Mei Mode. I don't really know what the title means, but I like it. Delving even deeper into the psychedelic hybrid trap and deconstructed club than on his 2017 album Neo Wax Bloom, Igloo incorporates everything from his signature sped-up vocals to synthetic record scratching while launching volley after volley of rapid-fire percussion at the listener, managing to flow between the intense and the softer, more melodic moments much better than he has in the past. I feel like this track and the others on the EPs Igloo Ghost released this year show development of his sound and structure, and I'm incredibly excited for his next full-length project. Number 29, Childish Gambino, This Is America. Do I even need to say anything? No. Am I going to? Yeah. I almost feel proud of Glover for making this song. He's shown talent for making catchy and enjoyable songs in the past, but never anything this concise and conceptual. The magnitude of this is insane. Of course, the attached video is just the icing on the cake, with the song on its own being fun and summery as well as dark and trippy. There's so many memorable and memeable moments littered throughout a barely 4-minute runtime. Number 28, Kanye West, Ghost Town. What an absolute joy. I can't even call it a rap song because there's no rapping in it. This is really just a fantastic psychedelic rock/soul song. Every vocalist that contributes plays their part perfectly. Cuddy's hook, 070 Shake's gorgeous and almost retro outro, and of course, Kanye's inescapably catchy verse. I can't say for sure because I wasn't in the studio that day for recording, but this feels like the most complete and focused song on the album. It has the clearest vision of them all. Number 27, Logic, 44 More. What's this, Logic actually spitting at the level he's capable of with a hyper-dynamic beat to back him? What more could I ask for? Filled to the brim with quotables while managing to keep the cringe to a minimum, which I know is hard for you, Sir Robert Bryson Hall II. Logic presents what is easily one of his best songs ever. I just wish he'd do more in the way of this instead of the boring boom bap that he showed off on Young Sinatra 4. Number 26, Sleep, The Sciences. This track, this piece, this composition, whatever you want to call it, is a behemoth. I understand that this is really just Sleep playing with their guitars and effect pedals before launching into their album, but the sheer force of the noise they make is freaking hydraulic. In seemingly random intervals, drummer Chris Hackius slams what I can only assume is a kick drum with enough reverb to make it sound like a distant thunderbolt, and it gives the impression that the guitar is a howling beast waiting to be released from imprisonment, pounding on the door to its den. This is about as ugly as metal can get, and I love every second of it. Number 25, Tropical Storm, A Laughing Death in Meat Space. The titular track on this Australian supergroup's album completely blindsided me. The rest of the album is heavy and hellish and While this song still holds a dark and surreal theme, it's not as grating as the rest of the album. I was blown away by the powerful, layered vocals courtesy of Gareth Lydiard and Fiona Kitchen. It's a bizarre and slow float down a blood-red river. Number 24, 21 Pilots, Jumpsuit. Look, say what you will about Blurryface, because I know I will. Regardless of their previous efforts, I ended up really enjoying Trench as a pop album, especially the first single they released. I don't know what happened to the duo since 2016, but I'm glad it happened. Jumpsuit is surprisingly beefy with a stunningly beautiful bridge as a side dish. Number 23, Judas Priest, Firepower. The opening track from any band's 18th album wouldn't leave much to be expected. Nonetheless, Judas Priest came out swinging with ferocity, featuring large and fiery guitars and lyrics touching on the subject of gun violence of all things, which is the last thing I'd expect to hear from any metal group. Firepower is loaded with the ever-burning passion of a band with something to say. Number 22, Brockhampton, Wait. One of, if not the most dazzling piece the boy band has constructed since they blew up last year, Wait serves as an updated look into their personal struggles after attaining superstar status. Not only are the lyrics and deliveries more poignant on this song than others on Iridescence, the production is arguably the best it has ever been. If you're a fan and you happen to be wondering why I really picked this over New Orleans, despite the song shredding my speakers, it's because the color palette of Wait spans the entire visual spectrum. The variety to the instrumental segments and voices is beyond words. I really hope they continue in this direction as opposed to the verse-chorus-verse formula they were falling into on Iridescence, because this is fantastic. Number 21, Death Grips, Disappointed. I have no clue what this is, but I like it. The boys came back hard this year. Zach Hill, Andy Moran, and Mick Ride decided to shatter expectations once again with a strange and psychedelic sound that is as aggressive as it is freakish. Ride's stretched out screams of, "Why me?" somehow managed to wriggle its way into my brain and stay there throughout the year, proving no matter how strange the music gets, the trio will always find some way to make it catchy. Number 20, No Name, Self. I love it when cute rap is done right. The fact that you can hear her smile through her rhymes is adorable, and I often caught myself smiling along. No Name graces the listener with a humble, delightful verse backed by swinging hip-hop drums and lush jazz pianos that would fit snugly as the opener to a 70s family show. Maybe that's why she chose it to open her album. Number 19, Earl Sweatshirt, Riot. It's really difficult for me to pick one individual song from some rap songs to put on this list because of how tightly knit together they are. Riot stands out to me as it's the only track that isn't one loop that repeats for its entirety. Intimate and original sampling allows Earl to say a lot without words, as well as pay homage to his late father's close friend. It's evident that Earl is starting to feel a little better from this upbeat instrumental, and I'm happy for him. Number 18, Anna von Hausswolff, Ugly and Vengeful. How do I even sell people on a genre called neoclassical dark wave? So apparently swans are done with music, at least until Michael Gira decides that his cowboy hat collection is big enough to satisfy that part of his life. So stepping into the same shoes as Anna with her massive drawn out instrumentals that crescendo into wailing voices and pounding percussion. Her style is gigantic in sound, and this song, even without any of the rest of the album to back it, is enough to get lost in. The melancholy she conjures up on this track swallows the entire 16 minutes with ease, exploding at around 9 minutes into this downward spiral of organ and droning synth that's borderline entrancing. Number 17, The Voids, Curious. This is a blend of a large number of styles, everything from the 80s synthwave bass to the Arabian lead melodies to the late 2000s auto-tune. Julian Casablancas' band has managed to assemble a mind-bending fusion of genres, described by the band themselves as cyber-Arabic prison jazz. They certainly knew what they were going for. The vocals and lead melodies are surprisingly memorable. At some points, Julian's voice is so heavily auto-tuned and distorted it just sounds like another guitar in the mix, and that's a good thing. Number 16, Pusha T, The Story of Adidon. This is hands down the best diss track of the decade. For those in the audience who are unaware, on the final song of his excellent southern hip-hop album from this year, Pusha T called out Drake, who you should know for not writing his own songs. Drake then returned fire with his duppy freestyle, discrediting Push's reputation as a hard drug dealer and claiming his peers to be better than he. What happened next shook the grounds of the hip-hop community. Pusha T lashes back with the force of a freight train, assaulting Drake verbally for a myriad of personal issues, including but not limited to calling Drake's father a deadbeat, bringing Drake's racial sensitivities into question, insulting Drake's friend for having MS, and most notably, calling Drake out for neglecting his own son, previously unknown to many, many people. I am genuinely upset that I will never in my life be able to hear the bar, "You are hiding a child," for the first time again, and as overused and misused as the word is, Pusha was a complete savage. This is the real sicko mode. Number 15, Anderson .Paak, Bubblin. Look, I loved Oxnard just as much as the next hip-hop head, but I wasn't about to lie to myself and say I enjoyed anything on the album more than Bubblin. Anderson's sass and energy on this track are immeasurable, bragging about saving his money as opposed to blowing it. It has just the right amount of cheese without feeling overly corny. It's entertaining, it's energetic, and it's over the top. This is how you do it right, Lil Dicky. Take notes. Number 14, Ichiko Aoba, Tsukinoka. Moonhill, along with the rest of QP, is about as minimal as a song can get without being spoken word. The first word that comes to mind is simple, with her angelic voice dancing gently on her guitar strings, and while being alone in a recording booth with a guitar is not the most original songwriting process, it can be done well, and Ichiko does it well. A soft crooning, paired with her simple plunking, makes for a pure and easy lullaby. Number 13, JPEG Mafia, Baby I'm Bleeding. A 50-second instrumental build before the first bar is dropped only makes the next few feel that much more satisfying. Peggy is angry on this track, emitting violence and rage with every word out of his mouth. Glitchy experimental production gives a grimy, hazy aura to his rapping, the distorted sizzle of his drums slashing through the mix. The instrumental changes quite a bit through the song's relatively short runtime, making the track feel as though it runs for 4 minutes rather than 2.5. Number 12, Denzel Curry, PERCS. I wasn't sure what to expect as I clicked play for the first time on this single, given that I only knew Denzel Curry as the guy who made Ultimate, and regrettably so. As a result, this song dropped me on my ass. PERCS is a no bars hold assault on any and every SoundCloud era rapper. More mortar fire than anything else, he does exactly what I want when a rapper is upset with the game. They sound upset with the game. Curry is furious on this beat. He's an all-consuming villain, not only beating up his victims, but mocking them and putting himself on top in the process. He also gives us one of the funniest bars of the year in "With these dumbass, young, respectable African Americans, and they don't say shit, it sound like dur dur dur, you like, oh, that's lit." He goes straight for the throat with no apologies. Number 11, Mid-Air-Thieves, Curve and Light. If you were to have told me at the beginning of the year, "Oh, by the way, Matt, a Korean folktronica piece is going to be one of your favorite songs of the year," I would have called you a silly idiot. A silliot, if you will. I'll admit it, this took a very long time to grow on me, but at this point it has grown so deeply that I couldn't forget to put it high on the list. In just 2 movements, it is bold, unforgiving, and experimental. The final leg of the song explodes into this kaleidoscopic fireworks show with the lyrics. Forgive me if I'm wrong, I put the lyrics through like 5 different online translators and they were all really vague and poor, so I gleaned what I could, alluding to mourning one's own pain in the first movement, and in the second, accepting that pain is okay because in the end we all die, so it's not worth dwelling on. I think that's as accurate as I'm going to get with that, though, as the extent of my artillery being French, English, and minimal Spanish. At least I know 2 things. I love this song, and I tried. Number 10, Yves Tumor, Noid. The swelling strings and groovy drums on Noid captivated me instantly, but it was Yves singing that I would end up returning for. While I didn't enjoy his falsettos much at first, I wound up humming the melodies whilst taking care of small tasks around the house. The track starts off with an almost disco feel to it before unraveling into this gargantuan downward spiral of anxiety, with the bass becoming heavier, the mix becoming messier, the harrowing screams in the distance growing louder. Touching on the subject of feeling unsafe, untrusted, and titularly paranoid due to racism and news media portrayal of African Americans, Yves manages to make a heavy topic catchy and dancey. Contrasted with how dark and ominous most of the other songs on Safe in the Hands of Love are sonically, it's almost as if he wants us to ignore the underlying message the same way that the people that Yves doesn't trust ignore their overtly racist portrayal of African Americans. But that's just my take. Number 9, Kids See Ghost, Feel the Love. Look, I know I said 1 song per artist, but Kids See Ghost counts as 1 band, okay? Do I even need to explain this, though? If you've heard the opening track to Kanye West and Kid Cudi's joint project from this year, you know that it is not a traditional rap song. Cudi takes the mic first with some heavily reverberating shouts on top of a minimal synth that wouldn't sound out of place in Luigi's Mansion. Pusha T then hops in for a brief verse of braggadocio, and then, without any warning, something amazing happens. Kanye West, for the next minute, starts making gunshot noises over these stomping drum beats. Maybe the whole poopity scoop thing was really just a test to see if an audience would like his take on scat singing. Regardless, it results in Kanye sounding the most fired up I've heard him since New Slaves, which I'll take any day. Number 8. Beach House, Pay No Mind. While Seven may not have lived up to Beach House's prior albums, it still manages to provide many enjoyable, spacey, and dreamy tracks. Some of the lyrics seem to speak of forgetting everything around her for her lover. The other half seem to imply that vocalist Victoria Legrand is alright with leaving them to carry on with her life. This duality of feelings without presenting any pity for oneself is heartbreaking to me, but because of the beautiful, sprawling production, it manages to be wrapped in a less saddening package. Victoria herself has described the production, saying, "It sounds like crazy, sizzling stars exploding in slow motion," and I couldn't agree more. Number 7. Low, Disarray. How the hell do you even make this sound? Taking their usual and more familiar slowcore and drowning it in enough effects to make a shoegaze band blush, Low create a sound that I have never in my life heard before. Who would have ever thought that synths distorted to the point of sounding nearly atonal with massive choral pop vocals could fit together in harmony, pun intended. I never saw myself coming back after the first listen, but damn if the vocal melody isn't catchy. The lyrics are ambiguous, talking of an evil spirit consuming one's life, presumably due to substance abuse. Number 6. Daughters, The Reason They Hate Me. I think that 95% of the adjectives that I would use to describe this song, even the entire album, are negative, which is hilarious to think about given how much I love it. Easily the catchiest and probably the most accessible song to emerge from the darkness that is Daughters' 2018 album, You Won't Get What You Want. This track is a hellfire missile of pummeling drums, dissonant guitars, and stressed voices. Alex, the vocalist, is insane and commanding with his delivery, and I say insane because he would most likely sound comfortable singing alongside the Doof Warrior from Mad Max. From what I can get from the lyrics, this song is directed anger towards those in power. The cries of "Don't tell me how to do my job" are an unauthorized injection of liquid rage into the listener. Accompanying this is the aforementioned psychotic guitar playing, which on its own sounds like pure, unadulterated evil, an absolute slaughterhouse of a song. Number 5. Avantdale Bowling Club, Friends, or Fiends, or Friends. Chills ran down my spine every time I hear the bass and flute open this incredible fusion of jazz and hip-hop. Friends talks on vocalist Tom Scott's struggle with substances alongside his friends, who he now realizes he doesn't have much in common with, having moved on from his drug use. It's almost jarring, to me anyway, that in a rap culture that promotes drugs at every chance, Tom writes in this song not only of the pitfalls of doing cocaine, but apologizing to his friend for peer pressuring him into taking it with him, even leading to Tom shaming himself for the eventual suicide of his friend. It's an intensely personal piece, and it coasts out on gorgeous jazz guitar with a heart-wrenching repeated vocal. Little side note here, Tom is in debt right now, and I can't live with that. This man, please go listen to his music. He needs every single listen he can get. I feel so bad that he's made such an incredible album, and while he didn't make such great choices while producing it, he definitely deserves more attention than he's been getting. This is probably the best rap album I've heard all year. Please go check out Avantdale Bowling Club on Spotify, on Apple Music, and on iTunes. Number 4, Polyphia, OD. If the riffs aren't enough to disgust you, I would hope the technicality of the drumming could, because every aspect of this group's second single of their latest album is atrociously good. Fusing EDM-style trap, djent, and even some Latin melody elements, the Texas band comes through with one of the most technically impressive pieces I've heard all year. Every single riff off this track is loaded with sass and wit. Using a slap bass as an 808 sounds silly in theory, but proves just as heavy in practice. The drumming present here is so precise, especially with the trilling hi-hats, that I didn't even believe they were real until I watched multiple live recordings. Honestly, this wouldn't sound out of place as boss fight music in a video game either. Number 3, Idols, Danny Nedelko. unapologetically straightforward. Idols makes their message clear as day on the first listen. We are all human, no one should be treated lesser. A simple idea, but one that hasn't made its way into quite everyone's minds yet. Frontman Joe Talbot's shouting vocals break down how being fearful of others leads us to hate without realizing, and how we're all made of the same flesh and bones. There's a bridge in the song where he starts spelling out the titular name of his friend, who happens to be an immigrant, and the word community also, as if to scream in the face of those who are anti-immigration. Are you so stupid that I have to spell it out for you? He's so in your face in his delivery that it is nearly impossible to ignore his words or the message that they carry. And maybe it's just stereotypical of me to think of it when listening, but this is just the perfect soundtrack for a pub brawl. I love this. Number 2, Sophie, Face Shopping. Good God, is this song ever a monster. I thought Pony Boy was good when that was released, but Face Shopping blew everything else on Sophie's album straight out of the water for me. The slick, sassy vocals that open the track could not prepare me for how rough and brutal the bass is. It was only on my 6th or 7th listen that I noticed that the bass is actually vocal snippets that have been so heavily doctored that they sound like Star Wars deep lore creatures snarling into a mic. Sophie's usual dissonant metallic percussions are also present, making this feel almost like a spiritual successor to Yeah Right, the song she produced for Vince Staples on his 2017 album, which was probably my favorite song of that year. The melodic bridge is so bright and dazzling it feels like sonically blinding, and the transition back into the harsher hook of the song sounds as if the ugly part of the song is trying to rip through the prettier bridge from the inside. It's just incredible. And at number 1, MGMT, Little Dark Age. Now, look, I get it, this song was released as a single last year, but I didn't hear it until this year, so I'm keeping it here. And while MGMT didn't pull through with my favorite album of the year, the title track from their latest ingrained itself deeply in my head for several months. Irresistibly dancey instrumentals with a simple but somehow mentally embedding vocal melody, Little Dark Age takes every element MGMT tests on their album and puts the best ones into play here. The low fidelity crunch of the drums over the phased synth hits is addictive. The plucky bass line is an easy sell for me too, as it bounces so easily with any 4/4 dance beat. The lyrics, drenched in equal parts dread and sarcastic wit coupled with somewhat deadpan delivery, give a sense of not feeling heavily impacted by the world's problems despite acknowledging their existence. It's bizarrely optimistic. The implication of the Dark Age being little is hopeful in a strange way, and I really appreciate it, especially with the current political climate of the world. And despite its 5-minute runtime, it never feels overdone or drawn out, each repetition of the hook pulling the listener back in just when the song sounds like it's done everything. It was hard to choose this over Sophie, but it feels good placing such a fun song as my favorite of the year. And that's my list. I really hope you guys enjoy. I hope you get to try something new that you didn't know before. And I really just hope that you can find something you like out of this list, because that's why I'm making it. Maybe your favorite song didn't make it on my list. Let me know down in the comments what you thought your favorite song of the year was, and we can have a little discussion down there. Thanks for watching, everyone.